I want something that resonates in your mind and feels familiar to you. And even if you haven't been there, there's a connection to that place somewhere in your memory bank. And that's where I start. And I take that connection, and then I take this iconic place that I've chosen, and now I find a place to photograph it from where it's really never been seen quite like this. I create what I call a time vector within the picture. So I set my camera up. Many of these photographs are shot from a cherry picker. So I'm 150 feet condor, it's a crane. I'm usually up around 50 to 60 feet in the air. I sit there in a fixed position, never moving, and we basically stay there for 15 hours on average. And I photograph from sunrise into the evening, taking probably about 1,500 single images. Sometimes it's even more than that. And then out of those 1,500 photographs, we edit down to the 50 best moments from the day into the night. And these are very specific moments. This is not a camera that I set up and I just run a time lapse. It's not time lapse. These are street photographs from an epic viewpoint. That's the difference of what I do. I mean, every person that you see is someone I've consciously photographed. Once I'm there, I just react and I live in the moment. And that's what I love about photography. And that's one of the hardest things I think to do as an artist sometimes is you pre-visualize what something should be, how it should look. And your focus tends to be so critical into what that idea is that you miss what really is happening in front of you. I feel like there's a performance going on, and I'm sort of watching it all. I'm the director. I'm in the catbird seat. I like to say I have the best seat in the house, and I get to watch this theater, not for an hour, not for 5 hours, but for 12 or 15 hours. As somebody who comes from that discipline of street photography, it's magical. And I'm just forever fascinated by the lyrical moments that happen throughout the day into the night, you know. The joy for me is I love looking. I just love looking. You know, I say if I could just have my cappuccino machine up in my cherry picker, it would be the ultimate Parisian cafe, you know. I was inspired at a very young age by Bruegel, the elder. And I remember my teacher took me to the Met for the first time. And I remember standing in front of the harvesters. And it was a life-changing experience. There were these little people in the field working, and I could almost feel the moisture on their brow. I could feel the work that they were doing in that field. And I thought to myself, this is incredible that someone that small, that I could feel the narrative so powerfully. This technology, Photoshop, is allowing, I think, photographers in general to change the way we look at and think about a still photograph. I'm using Photoshop as a tool where it is allowing me to layer all these moments that I get, and I can compress time. I'm creating a harmony between day and night, and that's what I think is the greatest challenge of all. I'm putting these two worlds together. My shadows rotate. You can follow the time in my shadows. It's very much like a sundial. If you look at the photograph I did of Bethesda Fountain, you look at it and it's literally a perfect sundial. I mean, you can actually watch the shadows rotate from right to left, and high noon, everybody is straight across, and then it rotates the opposite direction. The juxtapositions are, you know, in terms of day and night, yeah, it's surrealistic. And it's, you know, Magritte had the same issue. It was jarring when people saw, you know, the Empire of Light series. Jarring. They didn't understand it. And I think anytime you push outside the norm of a medium, you know, I think a lot of this work was inspired, honestly, by the notion that over the last 5 years, video suddenly became the catchword, where everybody thought still is dead, video is the future. You know, everybody, we see in film, we look at video, our brains are wired for film. It's, you know, still is never gonna really, it's gonna, you know, it's over. And I took such offense to that concept because, you know, even though, you know, now you see the explosion of photography on Instagram and everybody's a photographer. But the reality is, I've always felt the medium was just, especially with where we were technology-wise, that it's still in its infancy, as we've been reborn again in a way through the idea and the concept of what a digital image can do, and the idea now that we can actually now look at the medium and say, why is it just one moment? Why can't it be multiple moments in a single photograph? This work is about a celebration in a way of life, a celebration of what we have. And in certain pictures, even like Yosemite, I think the beauty of it underneath is there's also a warning. Of all the places I've ever been in my life, it's the most religious, physical landscape I've ever experienced. One cannot help but think about how something like this was really created, how absolutely perfect it is. I looked at the scale of this magnificent landscape and I thought to myself, my God, we are so insignificant in the realm of what's happening in this world. And I feel like there's a great message in that, that we need to recognize that the earth will, in fact, go on without us. I create photographs that are based on what I see, you see. And my eye sees like this, you see. And I'm not interested in just this and just that. I want to take you to a place, I want to expand your vision into the way I see the world. And I work with very, special lenses, specially designed optical equipment. There's a lot of what I do technically, and I'm working on the cutting edge of technology all the time, whether it's my back, my lenses, everything, because I'm pushing the envelope of what we can actually do with a camera. There's a breadth naturally to the point of view, but I'm also expanding the edges and the frame in a way that allows you to see so much more than you could take in with essentially what's a 35mm aspect ratio that our eyes have. One of the things I've been exploring is how the color of light changes over 12 hours. And when you see that seamlessly brought into one photograph, it creates a certain almost energy, almost like a similar contrast in color theory. My work is about energy and emotion. Beyond the scale and obviously the color, I want people to feel something in these pictures, and I also want you to go deeper. So the more you spend looking at my work, the more you're hopefully going to discover.